Hey everybody, Mike here from the Wall of Metal. Tonight I'm in the car of metal, and I see everybody on the YouTube. They like to do what's spinning in the car, and I've never done one of those, so I'm bored and just got home and dropping the kids off. I thought, well, why not? We'll see what's spinning in my car. It's dark. I feel like I probably look better in the dark, so I think it's light enough that everybody can see. It's about as light as the interior of my car gets. So I'm just going to real kind of quick go through what's in the car, what I've been listening to over the last, I don't know, some of these have been in here for about a month. And then the last 4 or 5 that I'm going to show have been kind of in the most immediate rotation. So we'll just grab this stack and go through it here. First one we got, you guys will recognize this even in the dark. Iron Maiden, The Number of the Beast. It needs no further description. Next up, we got Clutch, Psychic Warfare. Love Clutch, one of my favorite bands. They do no wrong. And then another one that everybody will know, even in the dark, that's Metallica, Ride the Lightning. Nobody needs to... If you don't know what that is by now, then you're not metal. This one, Penalty by Perception, Artillery. While I've got this one out... I want to let everybody know, if you're not familiar with Artillery, check them out. They've been around a long time. Great thrash metal band. And this is a great album, and it's probably going to be in my top 10 list. Just really awesome material here. I don't really want to get into a review of it, but I highly recommend Penalty by Perception by Artillery. If you've not checked it out, listen to it online, listen to some samples, order it. Check it out at your store, but get your hands on it because it's great. Switching gears a little bit to some more hard rock, we got Def Leppard, Hysteria. Everybody knows this one too. I think I had owned this, and then it got stolen a long time ago, and then I never really replaced it, and I found it at a CD shop for like $5, so I had to have it. I love Def Leppard. I think Hysteria is a great record. You should too. One of my favorite hard rock albums of all time, one of my favorite bands of all time, who I think is terribly, terribly underrated. I think it's one of the most underrated rock bands ever, and that's Triumph, and this is Allied Forces. I never can tell, really, if I think this or Never Surrender is my favorite Triumph album. I really think Allied Forces is probably going to be it. This is just such a great record. And if you're young and you don't know who Triumph is, give them a listen. And if you're an old guy like me, everybody knows them. And the last of this old stack, again, everybody knows this one. This is Metallica, Kill 'Em All. Mostly kind of was on a little, a metal run. I got a couple more here I want to show. There's a story behind one. You guys are going to laugh at me, but there's no laughing. I've paid my dues. I can listen to whatever I want. This is another classic. This is one of my favorite rock albums of all time. In fact, I think this Scorpions Blackout might be one of the best 80s metal albums, one of the best metal albums ever. And it's got my favorite Scorpion song, which is a little bit under the radar. This has China White, one of my favorite metal tunes ever. I could listen to this all day long. Love this CD. And then this one you guys are going to laugh at. I don't care. I'm going to show it anyway because that's how I roll. This is Duran Duran, Rio. And actually, this is the only Duran Duran record that I'll probably ever admit to listening to because I appreciate the impact that this band had when they came out in the 80s. And honestly, if you've played music or you really appreciate musicianship, the musicians in this band were phenomenal. And I guess I always liked Andy Taylor, and I think he's a great underrated rock guitar player, and he really does know how to rock. But John Taylor, I guess, never really being a big fan of these guys or really appreciating the individual aspects of players within a group, I never really recognized how tight and how good of a bass player he is. There's some really good bass playing on this album, and I think he's the star of this record. But this is a classic album, and I was on a little day trip in Cincinnati at a record shop and found it for like $5. I had never owned it on any format, and I was really pleased to actually find it and pick it up, and I enjoy listening to it. So no making fun of me, and I bet I'm not the only one out there that thinks this is a good record. All right, so that's that. The more recent rotation, I don't know if you can see my shirt, but it says Flotsam and Jetsam on it. I didn't do a road destruction report, but last night I had the distinct pleasure of going and catching those guys at the headquarters in Indianapolis. All I'm going to say is that they killed. If you're in, they're mostly heading out, I think, to the east and south. They're going to do a lot of shows in Texas, and I think out east is where they're headed next. My friends in the Midwest, maybe St. Louis or Chicago. One of those is tonight, I think. But anyway, if you get a chance to see Flotsam and Jetsam, go, because they are at the top of their game. Absolutely amazing. And one of the heavy rotation I've had recently, this is their latest release, self-titled. I think it was a kind of a good play to make this self-titled, because even though they've been around for years, this CD is really kind of a reestablishment of how awesome they really are. I know I have a lot of sentimental value attached to them because they're one of my favorite bands from back in the day, and I think they're the most underrated metal band that came out of the 80s. Everybody knows Jason Newsted was, that's what most people think Flotsam and Jetsam. Oh, that's where Jason Newsted started. But honestly, this band, if you've not been a fan of theirs or if you've not followed them, they're tremendous, and they've had a great career with some great albums. Some of my favorite metal songs of all time, Suffer the Masses, which sounded phenomenal live, have been produced by Flotsam and Jetsam. Drift, I don't have that one in the car, but I think Drift is one of the most underappreciated metal albums ever. Check it out if you don't believe me. But even though Eric A.K. Knudsen and Michael Gilbert are the only guys in the band now from any of the older recordings, the rest of the lineup is just fills out great. Jason Bittner is on drums, and if you're going to replace a drummer, you might as well get one of the best in the business, and that's Jason Bittner. But again, I don't want to do a review of this album, but I will say that there's a high degree of probability that Flotsam and Jetsam might be the #1 album of the year for me. And if it's not that one, it could be any one of the others that I'm showing you right now. Opening up for Flotsam, or on this tour with them, is Hellstar. And you can't see it really well because it's night and the light is crappy in here. But this is Vampiro. Kind of I don't know if it's necessarily a sequel to, but it flows nicely from Nosferatu that was released back in 88 or 89, I believe. This is a great record, and courtesy of EMP Recordings, which is Dave Ellefson's label. The production's great, songwriting is great. James Rivera, he's a legend in metal. His voice is still everything that it ever was, strong as ever. And they were really great live too, and highly recommend if you can find this newest release from Hellstar, check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed at all. Next up, man, I've been listening to the crap out of this one too, because again, I didn't do a road destruction report on them, but just last week, this is Vector with drawing a blank at Terminal Redux. I caught them in town too, and it was my first experience to see them. Really, I hadn't been real familiar with a lot of Vector's stuff, and I can't stop listening to this album. This is such a great album. I think it helped by I hadn't picked it up at all this year. It's been out for a while now, But I figured I was having a hard time finding it, and when I found out they were going to come and play, I thought, well, why order it? I'll just probably be able to buy it at the show, which I did. And I think it was really cool to not. I mean, I had heard it, I had listened to it before on YouTube, and I knew I would like it, but I hadn't really gotten to absorb it, a lot. And they played the entire album at the show, and I think being able to hear it live makes me really appreciate it more when I listen to it. And again, I don't want to do a review of this record, but this is going to be in the top. This top three. That could easily be the best record of the year. There's just so much going on here, and there's so much for any different kind of variety of metal fans. That Vector Terminal Redux, awesome album. And then the last one I got here. This is the New Testament, Brotherhood of the Snake. This is killer too. Any one of these last few records are going to be contenders for record of the year, as far as I'm concerned. You get what you expect from Testament. They sound like absolute professionals. They sound like masters of their craft. 30 years into their career, they haven't lost a step, and I'm pretty sure that all of these records are all going to kick the new Metallica's ass. Even though I got an open mind about it when it comes out, I'm looking forward to it. But it's just Metallica they've just lost that edge that so many of these other bands retain. I mean, some of these younger bands they have that young, that ferocity that that Metallica had when they were young too. But Testament, Flotsam and Jetsam, they show no signs of aging in these releases. These releases sound invigorated and fresh and energetic. They don't sound tired at all. And this Testament is a perfect example of that. A flawless record. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. It's amazing, and I highly recommend you go pick it up too. So that's a little bit of what's been spinning in the car. I've got I don't want too much of it if you can hear it in the background, but it's the Hellstar that's playing now. I really like this. The more I listen to this, I think this is a record that could crack the top 10 too. Some really awesome records have just come out here recently, and we still got a few weeks left for some other good things to come out. So let me know what you think about some of these. Let me know what you're spinning. If you want to make fun of my Duran Duran, you can do anything but do that. I don't want to see any negative comments in the feed down there about any of that. So that being said, let him know you're metal. Bang your head and throw the goat. And I'll catch you next time.